The biggest body positive influencer in all of Mexico is being brutally cancelled. Guys, let's talk about the cancellation of the Fatshionista.
It's tough, girls. There's patriarchal violence. I've already achieved everything that thinness promised me. Wow, and to top it off, I'm a fat woman. Also saying say no to machismo girl, wanting to lose weight just to regain the ability to move like this. Well, without having the fanny pack, being able to tie your shoelaces is going to get you into a lot more trouble than just saying, I accept my body as it is. Whether from resignation, it is what it is, or acceptance and respect, going through the process and starting to look for what's next. If my problem is that I can't tie my shoelaces, how can I exercise my body in a way that makes it more flexible?
I mean, I want you to understand, a woman who couldn't even do something as simple as tying her shoelaces. She said that diet culture is patriarchal violence.
The scandal about Priscilla, also known as the Fatshionista, has come to light. Different women are sharing their testimonies about the bad experiences they had with the Fatshionista.
And well, it turns out that this woman was cancelled so massively that there are articles like the following, exposing the Fatshionista. Did she use her weight to gain followers? Let's continue. The Fatshionista exploded after leaving Six of Cups, which was the podcast she had with her friends, and she accuses internet users of sending her massive hate. They even say here that the Fatshionista was exposed for allegedly mistreating her employees. No, it's not that everything hit this woman all at once, and it's because for those who don't know, she was part of a very famous podcast called Seis de Copas, where 6 female friends would get together to talk about their stuff, not gossip. This podcast was extremely famous, believe it or not. It's extremely famous among the female audience. I think it must be one of the most famous podcasts in Mexico in Spanish as well, without a doubt. And even though most of you may have never seen a single episode of this podcast, you've probably seen a viral clip. And it's because this woman, known as the Fatshionista, was in charge of saying all kinds of crazy things that went viral on social media. Actually, I don't know if you remember, since we've mentioned her many times. This woman is always saying she has a boyfriend from here, a boyfriend from there. She's always bragging about her billionaire boyfriends. That's what she used to do on this podcast.
The best date I've ever had from dating apps was once when I went out with a guy who was a millionaire without me knowing it.
However, a few weeks ago, she announced that she was leaving the project, that she was leaving the podcast, saying that she felt very, very tired. However, this was the last straw. After this, the woman started having anxiety attacks and went on to blame everything, the internet.
In 10 years on social media, I never had to limit interactions on my profiles or experienced prolonged anxiety and anxiety attacks before. That's unusual for me. I had never needed to see a psychiatrist, take antidepressants, avoid leaving my house out of fear, or hide from people. To quit the job I love most? Crying daily, skipping makeup, skincare, showers, and brushing my teeth, smoking again, losing appetite, and avoiding food, all happening at once. Mental health is a popular topic, but we rarely discuss what social media users do for others' mental health. As a fat person, I've always been bullied. As a child, I was bullied often, but I can't blame those kids now. They were just kids. I can't understand how fully grown, responsible men and women treat me differently just because I'm fat or a feminist. Because they don't like my personality, because of my opinions about plus-size fashion, or because I decide not to take part in a project that harms my mental, emotional, and physical health. They've made dozens and dozens of videos saying terrible things about me with tremendous ignorance, maliciously twisting my words, and with an insistence and unhealthy obsession. And many of those people are probably here, eager, waiting for me to give them more of that content that has worked so well for them, so they can keep tearing apart someone who hasn't done anything to them, who doesn't even know them. I want to tell you that if I've been having such a hard time, if I've been so broken, it's thanks to you. Whenever you see that bad-mouthing me boosts your comments, brings millions of views, and makes you feel accomplished. You should know you're hurting me and damaging my mental, emotional, and physical health. No. And don't turn the other way thinking that just because I'm a public figure, I'm exposing myself to this. Because you'd be using the same argument as a criminal who blames a woman in a miniskirt for provoking him. The fact that I'm here being vulnerable doesn't give you any right to trample on me or to take advantage of the strong wave of hate that has hit me in recent weeks. So you can have relevance you couldn't get alone. Let me be clear, this is digital violence and you'll have to live with the consequences.
Wow, this woman is unbelievable. She blamed the entire internet for her anxiety attacks. Incredible, but true. Now it turns out that obviously this didn't stop here. Former employees of her came out to say a lot of things, to speak badly about this woman. But well, we'll get to this topic later. There's something very important that I do want to mention here, and it's that there's something she says that is objectively true. On the internet, unfortunately, we tend to dehumanize people. There's a lot of dehumanization, especially towards content creators. We often forget there's a human with emotions and feelings on the other side of the screen who may not be having their best moment, and sometimes they might read negative comments, and well, we already know what happens. That's something we all sometimes forget. However, I think that what this woman had been doing on the internet is, objectively speaking, concerning. And the thing is, she had been trying to normalize something we shouldn't normalize, and that's the topic of eating habits. Imagine, this woman said that dieting was something from the patriarchy. That's the level we're talking about, so you get an idea, and obviously it's something serious. This same woman couldn't even tie her shoelaces, just imagine that. And as if that wasn't enough, she claims that the Seis de Copas podcast project had her physically exhausted, that she was extremely tired because of it. And even though I myself have criticized influencers who go out and cry and say that being a YouTuber is very hard, very complicated, that it's a nightmare, I'm not going to deny that actually creating content is harder than it seems. It's not as simple as it looks at first glance. Remember that you see the final product, but you don't see all the hours of work behind it. Keep that in mind. However, this woman, in the end, she was on a podcast collaborating with 6 other influencers, and they had a whole team working with them. Therefore, the only thing she had to do was go and record, prepare the podcast and record. And I wonder, did that stress her out so much? Did that exhaust her so much?
I can't handle the project's demands or what it has required.
I think yes and no. Of course, she got tired from being on the podcast, but at the same time, her tiredness wasn't normal. Her tiredness was directly related to her eating habits and her weight. I guarantee you that if this woman suddenly decided to start eating better, to exercise and go through a process of regenerating her body and start taking glutamine, probiotics, omega-3 vitamin B, vitamin C, magnesium, for example, among many others which she should personally check with her doctor to know which ones she needs and which ones she doesn't. But the point is that if she decides to go through a transformation, I guarantee you that in a few months this woman will have more energy and greater mental ability. No, she's a totally different person.
Thinness has already given me everything it promised.
You achieved it in spite of your condition, not because of it. And right now, because of the way you are, you can't go any further.
The truth about Priscilla Arias, the fashionista, came to light. Her former best friend, her ex-assistant, and 2 curvy models who were part of her agency came forward to share their truth on social media. Let's talk about this. Different women are sharing their testimonies on social media, more specifically on the account of Are Molina, who is a body positivity activist. Just like Priscilla, they are sharing their bad experiences with the Fatshionista. Let's break down this issue, starting with her ex-best friend, whom she mentions in an episode of Seis de Copas. The best friend's story is simple. As long as things go her way, everything is peaceful and smooth. But when differences start to arise, that's when the true personality of Priscilla Arias comes out in this friendship dynamic. The girl mentions that Priscilla told her many times that Fatshionista was just a character and that she couldn't lose weight because her business would be over.
Let's see if I believe she actually said that. But I don't think it's true. Honestly, I think that was just an excuse Fatshionista used to justify why she wasn't losing weight. It's that simple. We humans love to look for excuses, motives, or reasons not to do what we know we should do.
She emphasizes by saying that everything she tells her fans about body image is just to sell. Then they tell us the testimony of her former personal assistant, and what the girl says is shocking. She mentions how dependent Priscilla can be, not to say lazy, that she had to heat up absolutely all her meals, and almost had to chew her food for her. She was expected to handle everything for her, acting as a personal assistant and even vacuuming her car. She agreed to help but felt it was too much. She recalls one instance in particular. Priscilla got upset because she ate before the Fatshionista, telling her that she always has to eat first. And if there was time left, her assistant could eat.
Look, the problem with this kind of accusation is that it's feminists accusing another feminist, so it could perfectly well be a false accusation just to try to finish sinking the Fatshionista. That's just the harsh reality. I'm not saying it's true, I'm not saying it's false, it's just that I have no proof that this last thing happened or occurred. That's why I don't give it much importance. It's clear they ended badly and parted on bad terms. Both the Fashionista and her former assistant, it's pretty obvious, and now that the Fashionista is being brutally cancelled, well, they came out to add fuel to the fire, but let me tell you this last part, take it with a grain of salt. What is true is that the Fashionista was an internet personality who tried to promote things that shouldn't be promoted, and that's why now she fell by her own weight. Never better said, gentlemen. See you next time.